Hello friends and welcome to episode 199. Are we feeling fine? Are we? It's election week next week, so we're feeling fine now, but who knows what the future holds. Jesse Gracia, what's it like to be a hard border away from all the madness happening down here?
Hard border, I wish. It's nice being physically separated, but oh boy, please, I hope no mistakes are made, because changes in America impact us a lot. I hate tariffs. It already sucks up here, guys. Please, I'm begging you.
If you think that's bad, think about all the Americans that will be moving to Canada.
Oh, brother.
You won't be, the lines at American Superstore will be longer than ever before.
They're going to rename it to bring all the Americans in. Real Canadian Superstore is gone. Now it's an American Superstore.
Did I say American Superstore?
You did.
Wow.
They're opening up a new brand.
I know. America's next top superstore. Frank Howley, do you feel safe in the liberal enclave of Orange County? I just remembered where you live. Sorry.
Yeah. No, I'm already looking at my next trip to Japan. So I don't care what happens in America.
One-way ticket.
LAX is direct flights to Tokyo. So I'm already, figuring out. But no, I don't know. I just stay in my room. I don't really go outside. So everything's great in my little. It's awesome. I don't know. I feel good.
Love it. Jeremy Jane, you like to stay in your room, but you've spent the past week touring this beautiful nation of ours. What say you of the people on the East Coast? How are they feeling about the upcoming election cycle?
I mean, you know how California, it's like there are very population dense centers that are very blue, and then you go to the mountains and everyone has Trump signs. Massachusetts is like that if you compressed it into one of the smaller states. So driving down the street by my parents' house near Boston, it was just like Trump sign, Harris sign, Trump sign, Harris sign. Like it was a million signs and they alternate.
Ooh, Jill Stein. You're like,
yeah, and one Jill sign, and everyone hates that person for some reason.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I don't know. It was bizarre being out there because, Massachusetts is a state that is very deeply blue, but it's also incredibly rural, like 35 minutes outside of Boston. So it's a weird mix.
You sure that was a Jill Stein and not a Frankenstein?
There was a lot of Halloween shit. It could have gone either way. Maybe they just liked the name, like they were just in it for the optics.
Did you just go home so you could go to Salem during Halloween?
No, I would never. In fact, I brought my girlfriend and she was dying to go to Salem and I refused to take her. It is the worst place to go. You cannot go, it is worse than imagine if you took the entirety of Shibuya Crossing, except it was constantly in a state of crossing and you contained it maybe into 20% of the size of the area. That's what Salem is like in
It's like
October.
A music festival, is it?
It's like Bonnaroo in a shoebox.
Wow, Bonnaroo box. That's great because I was there in the middle of the summer and it was mostly empty, but also parking was impossible. It was very confusing. So I don't know what it's like.
It's not equipped for it. It's it's an old, it's one of the two oldest cities in Massachusetts. I think it's one that and Plymouth. I think are the two original colonies because they were cities because they were harbors. So the street planning is from 1622 or whatever the fuck.
I went camping on the Russian River over the weekend, and it was like a Halloween themed camping thing. So there was trick or treat for the kids and all this, and there was a bonfire. Irish people love a bonfire, but before we did trick or treating properly, it was very bonfire heavy, my Halloweens, which they don't do anymore because it's just a massive health and safety problem. We build 20-foot tall pallets and tires and then set them on fire, and there's no organization. It's just some people did it in a field, and I'm sure lots of people were murdered doing it, but this bonfire they have is just a tiny, it was 3 pallets, but on top of it they had the effigy of a witch which felt like sort of out of spirit. You know what I mean? No
Yeah.
pun intended. With Halloween, like it was like they were like, oh yeah, witches. Yeah, Halloween witches, burning witches. It's like burning witches is in the American psyche is the first thing that comes to mind when you think of witches. Is, oh yeah, we got to burn them.
Because I just came back from Massachusetts, this was on my mind. There is a hill that is potentially one of the most like densely layered, spooky upon spooky places. It is so you guys know like Arkham Asylum that from H.P. Lovecraft,
Like from the game? No.
which then became the Batman thing where the Joker was interred. So that is based on Danvers State Insane Asylum, one of the largest and oldest former sites of an insane asylum in the United States. But the hill it was built upon was the former home of one of the main prosecutors from the Salem witch trial. So it's the guy who condemned witches, and then they were like, all right, let's get rid of his house and build a fucking insane asylum.
Wow.
And my dad worked at the insane asylum back in the day.
Wow.
And then they leveled that, and now there are expensive condos, and I can't
Oh my
imagine a
gosh.
fucking worse place to live.
They gentrified the asylum? What
They
the fuck?
gentrified Arkham, dude.
But that means there's like insane patients buried on top of witches buried. Let's be honest, probably on top of Native
Americans, yes.
Native American people too. So it's just like a club sandwich of fucking like
It's a Stephen King
hauntings.
turducken.
Yeah.
It's a fucking
It's
cake.
like it's the end of a Halloween special where all the spooky villains come out at the same time.
Wow, that's like the most haunted Pret a Manger in the world is located now.
If you wrote that into
field.
a horror story, people would say you were being over the top.
Yeah, isn't Danvers also where Emil Pagliarillo is from? I think
I believe so, yeah.
The story writer on at Bethesda Games Softworks.
Yeah, in fact,
Bethesda GameWorks.
I was thinking about Fallout 4 because I want to fire it up and retrace my steps from going to Boston the other day. Retrace the trip. I've dragged my girlfriend. We literally walked 9 miles across the city. I didn't realize how far we
Whoa.
walked, but yeah. So sorry if she's listening.
Amazing. That's right. So and the only time you've played Fallout 4 was with me on that stream, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Was that a patron only stream? I forget.
No,
I think
it was a fat session.
It was a fat
That's for
session.
people.
Baby. Speaking of fat sessions and Noclip Crew, awesome work, Jesse, on the latest video of games you should play and wish list from Steam Next Fest. If you haven't checked that out yet, head over to Noclip Crew on YouTube and you can check that out. It's myself, Jesse, and Jeremy talking about all of our favorite games from Steam Next Fest. But we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about games that have come out, some of which are new, some of which are remasters. We're going to get into that in a second. But first of all, thanks to all of our incredible Frankensteins and witches. Ian Swanson, Eamon Slattery, Harry Flanagan, Battle Royale Games, Arno, Richard Matheson, James Brown, Mark Rojas, Tucker Morgan, David McGarry, Sven Huster, Pez, Aaron L. White, Uint Nate, Tim Robinson, Forrest Pruitt, Jonathan Kremen, Eric Hamilton Schneider, Cameron Ladd, Zachary Snader, Alex Sharp, Alex Goucher, George Sakotis, Jacob Godserve, Tohir Tiliev, and Ryson. You know what I just realized I should have done? Is made up spooky names for all of them.
Oh, yeah.
That
Run it
was
back.
right.
Run it back.
It was right there. Could we? Yeah. Do you wanna take? You can all see the names here. Do you wanna take a punt at one? Any of those convert
Ian.
easily?
Ian Swamp Thing Swanson.
Oh, that's good.
good.
Eamon
Ian's-
Slaughtery.
Oh, that's
Oh,
good. Ian
Jesus.
Slaughtery. What about Harry Flanagan? How are you feeling about that? That's because we're on a roll now. Harry Flanagan.
Like a
Scary
werewolf.
Flanagan.
Scary
Flanagan.
Flanagan.
Scary
Right,
Flanagan.
we all got there at the
Perfect.
same
Yeah.
time.
Yep.
Battle Royale horror games.
For some reason, I thought you were going to say Battle Royale whores, and I was
No,
like,
no,
Frank,
no.
that's not a that's not a
not
horror
scary.
thing. That's just and don't use that word.
Arno could be like Carno, like Carnage. That's
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I mean, it's not great, but it's something.
Frank has something. What are you saying?
I was thinking no real monsters.
Oh,
There's a
yeah.
show called
No.
Real Monsters.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Is that we can't spend 20 minutes doing
yeah.
this.
Richard
good point.
Fa-
Batterson, like bats.
Oh,
that's good.
Bats are
Yeah,
scary.
Yeah, we're running out of steam already. You can see this.
I was gonna say two more, but Richard falling asleep in the Batherson. Sorry. James Brown necrotic spider bite. James Brown recluse spider bite. That's very scary. These are just fears coming out.
Yeah, you're just it's just your fucking therapy.
Just let Frank cook on this.
Yeah.
Dark Rojas.
Ooh, that's good.
That's good.
Evil Trucker
Cameron Ladd.
Morgan?
We need one for Cameron Ladd.
Ooh, yeah.
Cameron Bad.
There you
Cameron.
Yeah.
I like that. Now that's scary.
There was a guy I saw when I was watching NFL yesterday whose first name was Ladd, and it made me laugh because I thought of somebody called Lad.
Lad. The ultimate lad.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That would be terrific. All right, that's it. Answers on a postcard if you have one for Eric Hamilton Schneider. Otherwise, thank you so much to all of our incredible Battle Pass holders and all of our patrons over at patreon.com/noclip. Head over there if you want to support all of our work, all the projects we've talked about, and the litany of projects that we are not telling you about. Let me tell you, we have never been more secret over here. Frank is sick of getting on planes. We're done for the moment, Frank. I promise. I think six of the past 8 weeks I've been on the road, so I'm just about ready to stop doing that. I got to chop my legs off so I can't go anywhere anymore. I throw away my passport and talk about video games. But before we talk about Horizon Zero Dawn Remastered, Wilmot Works It Out, and Call of Duty Black Ops 6, I want to hear about Jeremy Jane's time on the East Coast. You played some games on the road?
Yes, I did. In fact, this is more of a travel story than a video game story, but it is insane enough that I think it is worth telling. So this is the first time I've traveled in a while, and Danny very kindly loaned me his old Steam Deck, which was an incredible boon on the road. It's the first time I've ever messed around with the Steam Deck. It made flying much better. But on the way back, I had one of the most insane travel experiences, which is saying a lot because I've traveled so fucking much. Like we used to go on planes like once or twice a month for several years back when NoClip kind of started. And for some reason, I got stuck next to potentially the most frightening man I've ever met in my entire life on my flight back. So
this is like the second time you've been on a plane in 5 years, basically. So it's like you're like, okay, you've all the flight out there was fine.
Yes.
It was all right.
Flight out there was totally fine, totally normal. So I'm on the way back, and I'm in the window. Guy in the aisle, no one in the middle, no buffer. And
great.
I sit down. It seems
what
like
could possibly go wrong?
What could possibly go wrong? So I'm like, oh, no one in the middle. This is great. This is going to be a great flight. So the guy on the aisle, there's a family in the aisle who are, people like kind of chatting while they're boarding. The line's moving slow. There's a Middle Eastern family speaking to each other. And this guy is clearly getting pissed that they're holding things up. Also, there's a flight. I love Boston. I'm from Boston. This might have been like a racist Boston guy. So he starts mumbling under his breath at them for like holding up the line. So already I'm like, all right, I can deal with low-level crazy. This is a simmering kettle of crazy I can deal with. So he's clearly getting pissed. Then they start moving, and he yells, "You stepped on my foot," to the mother of the family. And she says, "Oh, sorry," and then says something in another language. And he starts mumbling, "I feel threatened. I feel threatened." He says it 3 times. He says, "I feel threatened," each time crescendoing a little louder. So I'm like, all right.
Oh no.
I'm starting to get a little nervous here. Like,
I don't want to paint a book by its cover, but could you give me a little bit of visual flavor for? Is this an older gentleman? Is this a
Pro Shop hat?
Yeah, no. Okay, so I'm glad you asked because
camouflage. He's wearing a ghillie suit.
He was wearing he was a probably, I'm going to say 68-year-old man. He's wearing a Boston Ballet t-shirt. Very weird for an older racist man. Although I've never been to the ballet. Maybe that's, I don't know. It's not a place where I picture racist.
It's like Shen Yong. It's actually hidden propaganda.
Yeah, maybe he's going to a racist ballet. So he, just like sweatpants, like a normal looking dude, but a little bit of, a little crazy glaze, a little sheen in his eye that tips me off. So he says, "I feel threatened. I feel threatened. I feel threatened," to nobody in particular. I feel like he's trying to pull me into it at this point, and I'm just I'm hard walling. I'm psychologically hard walling him off. Like I'm just like, there's no way I'm going to look at you. So I'm like, all right, well, it'll probably end there. Surely he won't do anything about this. Mind you, we haven't taken off yet. We're still on the ground. He calls over the stewardess. And I'm like, oh no, that can't possibly be related. There's no fucking way he's going to do something about this. This man stands up in his seat And to the stewardess, he says, that woman just threatened me.
No.
What?
And he points to this woman, this Middle Eastern woman who said something in another language. And the stewardess says, what? And he's like, that woman back there just threatened me. And he's standing pointing at her like j'accuse, like he's fucking standing up.
Objection.
And she says, well, what did she say? And the guy says, I don't know. It was in Arabic.
Oh my
brother.
god!
The
My god! What? Can you give me an idea of the stewardess's reaction?
So
Like,
she makes a face like this, and she goes, "What?" And he's like, "Yeah, I mean, I don't speak Arabic, but I know it was a threat."
Oh, for fuck's sake.
So at this point, like, this is my first time I've played like 4 or 5 years, and I'm just like this feeling comes over me of like basically I feel like a panic attack coming on because
right? Yeah.
I like my face is getting hot and my head is swimming and I'm like I need to like get off the plane because like I can't be next to this man for 7 hours. There's no fucking way.
Yeah, it's like the feeling of claustrophobia you get from like not having been on a flight for a while, and now it just happens to be that the craziest person in this plane and perhaps any plane you've ever been on is in your only way out of this aisle.
I've been on a plane like hundreds of times and I've never had a bad experience with other people other than, like whatever, people like, throw their tissues on the ground, like that kind of shit. But I've never had like in that moment, I was like, I'm going to be one of those viral videos where like the racist guy snaps on the plane.
I was literally about to say this moment you've just explained to us is something that most of us have only ever experienced in a vertical video on YouTube Shorts.
100%. So at this point, my face is hot and I'm panicking, and I'm like, do I get off the plane? Like, do I have to like fucking get off the plane and like cancel everything? And like in my, is the air marshal gonna come over and shoot us both? Cause like, I just like, I'm just like fucking panicking. And the stewardess just like gives him a look and says, okay. And she leaves. And I'm like, you can't, like that man cannot be on this. You need to remove him from the flight. Like this dude is
the pin has been pulled out of the grenade and she's just walked away.
100%.
She hasn't put it back in or thrown the grenade off the plane.
Just left it live on the seat next to me. So I'm like, I got that feeling. It's a feeling that like, I can only explain it as for anyone who has ever taken an edible or like any psychoactive substance and had a moment where you're like, oh no, I took too much, and like the you feel hot and you're like, there's no escape from this. Like I've gone too far. Right. It was that feeling. I was like, I'm trapped and there's no escape from this because I can't get off the plane.
I have to ride it out. Yeah.
Yes. Like, so in a panic, I'm like, all right, well, I was gonna wait till we're there to pull out the Steam Deck. Just pull out the Steam Deck now. So I'm like pulling out the Steam Deck, and Crazy Dude starts asking me like questions about like about the Steam Deck and stuff. And the middle seat is open too, so he's like, you got to move your suitcase to the middle. And I was like, no, I'm good. And he's like, man, come on, you got to stretch out those legs. And I was like, no, like please stop talking to me. And I'm like putting on my headphones, so he keeps talking to me with the headphones on, like just unhinged behavior. And another classic line from this band is that he's like, come on, man, you're not gonna keep your suitcase there. You got some long legs down there. You gotta stretch.
Oh god.
I'm like 5'9". Like I also had just watched the horror movie Long Legs, and so I'm like,
you put on your long
this
legs
dude
today.
is this guy's the serial killer from Long Legs. Yeah.
Oh no,
it's
Next
Nicolas
seat over.
Cage's character from Long Legs. And
that movie is fucking not very good.
No, I enjoyed it.
I thought it was fun. Yeah.
I fell apart a little bit, but I enjoyed it. But regardless, I thought this man was going to serial kill me in the air, and basically, the whole flight he starts drinking too. I'm like, I cannot believe they're serving this man alcohol. And the final detail.
What time's your flight?
It was in the evening. I probably landed at like 11 p.m. So yeah, do the math. But so they start serving this man alcohol, and the sort of final interaction I have with this man is I was like, even if I have to piss, I'll just hold it for like 7 hours. There's no way I'm interacting with this guy again. I'm not taking my headphones off. At some point, I have to get up and use the restroom, and the guy is like in a drunken stupor. He's already deranged and insane. And I get up and I stand up. And you know how usually you stand up and there's a silent understanding. People move for you.
Yeah.
I stand up and he doesn't do anything. And I'm like, excuse me. And he turns to me and he gives me a look like I just said to him, I am the devil. Like he turns to me and he's like this. For anyone watching the YouTube, he turns and goes,
like shocked.
Like I leaned over to him and told him that I was Satan and that no one would believe him if he told them on the flight. Yeah, and that was sort of it. He just kept trying to like talk to me. At one point, he asked, I was trying to plug in the Steam Deck, and he's like, "The plug's right here," and he points to like the headphone jack, and I'm like, I don't know what's fucking happening.
Wow, that's great.
That's the end of my interaction. I have one little tag on the story, which is that I was I was late for the airport, and I've never done long-term parking, and I didn't take a picture of the pillar where my car was parked.
Oh no.
Which is a nightmare. At SFO, it's 2 megalithic structures of parking as well.
Yeah, it's pretty big. Yeah.
So I got there and I wandered around for 45 minutes and couldn't find my car.
Dude, SFO ones is like a fucking... Is this the outdoor one or the...
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like the big parking structure. It's like 6
The one
floors.
you take the train from?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
So I have never
Did you remember how many floors you took on the elevator? That's
I knew,
how I always...
I knew it was between the 2nd and 4th floor.
Okay.
So I had to ask security for help at like 1 a.m. And the most angry security guard I've ever met in my life drove me around in a golf cart for like 40 minutes looking for the car. I was so fucking humiliated, dude.
Because you don't have a beep beep on your
No.
car, right? So you couldn't. Yeah, it's not like you could just hit that button and know where it is. Oh man, that's a bummer.
So it was a hell of a travel day, but
That's beautiful.
But the racist crazy guy was definitely the low light highlight.
I was
What
really
did you
hoping the
play
ending
on-
with the security guard that was driving you around was going to be like, yeah,
was
man,
him.
you know, my brother was telling me about this guy on the plane. He got threatened, man. It was crazy.
It's crazy,
Yeah.
dude. In
You can't find
Arabic.
your car because he's got. Yeah, that's. I was thinking, fuck, if you could just to fuck with him, if you could like get on the Wi-Fi on the plane and look up what "excuse me" is in Arabic.
In Arabic,
Like,
yeah.
yeah,
That would've
like
been fucking great.
respond to. Yeah, just really.
I feel like he
fuck
would have
him up.
stabbed me with like a little plastic knife for like
plastic
his
fork.
in-flight meal.
With his little single serving headphone jack, you just stick it in your eye.
Exactly.
Wow. Well, I'm glad you're here, and I hope that hasn't scared you off getting cross country flights.
No, if anything, I was like the fact that I pulled myself back from the brink of a panic
Right.
attack. I was like, I'm good. Like I could handle anything now. That was fucking insane.
What did you play on the deck?
I played. I was in a dissociative fervor. No, I played Like a Dragon for several hours on the way back, which was fantastic. I played a ton of Nine Souls. I played a little bit of Borderlands 1 for some reason.
Okay.
Bunch of UFO 50. Yeah, the Steam Deck is great. It was awesome.
Yeah, what do you make of it? Because you'd never used one before. I'm on the OLED. I had a friend who got. I don't know why he was selling his OLED because he had another one. I think he had ordered 2, and one was the collector's edition or something, and then he ended up getting rid of one. So I've had that other one. I've been meaning to eBay it.
Yeah, I'll buy it off you. It's awesome.
Do you like it? Yeah,
Yeah,
what I was about to say. Like, what is your review of it? Because like you'd never used one before, right?
Yeah, no, it was fantastic. It was comfortable. The only time I ever found it like slightly uncomfortable is when I was playing Like a Dragon because it's a more intense game. I was like resting on my lap and it got very hot. But
Oh, interesting.
yeah,
Right,
I think that game was a little demanding. I turned the graphics down and it was fine. But yeah, no, it was awesome, man. The screen, it's not the OLED either, but I haven't seen the OLED. I feel like once I see the OLED, it'll ruin me on the LCD. So just never let me see your Steam Deck.
Yeah.
But it was like a fucking lifesaver. Usually, I mean, the last flight I did was I think you and me coming back from France. And I just sat there for
Right.
10 hours in my thoughts. So this was a
Yeah.
stark
Back from
difference.
Leon, right?
Yeah.
Was it? Did we fly? Because did we fly through Ireland on that one? Was that the one we hung out with my brother in Dublin?
That was on the way out there. We hung out in Dublin, I think.
Yeah,
and then
we
on the-
just flew back direct.
Yeah, I think so.
Because COVID was kicking off, wasn't it? We were like, oh, this is
Yeah.
crazy.
It was February 2020, February 2020, and there was a guy coughing on our plane. I was like, and it was just
yeah.
on the news, so I was like, oh fuck, we're doomed.
And then the one we done before that or after that was Obsidian for
I think that was
Outer Worlds.
that might have been January 2020.
January. And the Kobe plane helicopter crash happened
Yeah.
while we were there. So I remember just thinking both of these had these like very ominous events around them. But yeah, there we go. We didn't go on a plane for a little while. Well, I'm glad you got to play some games and you didn't get murdered by the
By long legs.
Islamophobic ballet long legs man. Yeah, I'm very glad to hear it. I'm also very interested in what the fuck Wilmot is and why Wilmot is attempting to work it out. I feel like I've been completely off. Like, I mean, I have. It's apologies to everyone. Apologies to our listeners to this podcast and to our patrons and to I have been a traveling salesman for the past 2 months, and like fucking Veilguard came out like this week.
Yeah,
I-
it'll be out on Thursday, yeah.
Yeah, I totally forgot that was happening. Apparently Red Dead Redemption came out today, I think.
Yeah.
On Steam for the first. Is that the first time on PC? Surely
Yep.
not.
No, it is.
That's
I'm pretty sure,
and
unless it was on Epic before this, but
I couldn't
yeah.
believe. I was like, have they never done that on PC? The first one? That's crazy. And it's $50, which is more than Red Dead Redemption 2 currently on Steam, which is very interesting. So there's all this stuff going on, and I'm like disconnected from it. So please explain to me who Wilmot is and why what needs working out.
So actually, it's funny. The story starts on a plane. I was waiting for. No, I was kidding. So
Were you being
yeah,
racist at the time?
it wasn't me. It was someone else. I swear.
She stood on my foot.
And then she said something I don't know. I'm scared. So I'm going to say Wilmot because saying Wilmot makes my mouth hurt.
Okay, fair enough. Wilmot.
Wilmot Works It Out is the sequel to this indie game that came out a couple years ago, developed by the same people who made Flock from earlier this year, Hollow Ponds and Richard Hogg. Well, some of the people who worked on Flock anyway. Published by Finji. And the original game, Wilmot's Warehouse, I fell in love with. It was this basically Wilmot is this cube or square, 2D square, with a little very simple expressive face. And the gameplay of his first game, or their first game, it's just a cube or square, was organizing a warehouse and making deliveries for customers. So like people would come up and it was kind of like a Diner Dash sort of thing. But the gameplay of it was you organize this warehouse using this little square who would like go around and pick items up. And they have this really ingenious organization mechanic where like you go around, touch the edge of a square and then like pick it up and organize them. So in that game, they would be like, someone would come up and be like, I need 2 apples and a lightning bolt. And you'd be like, sure. So you go to your lightning bolt and you get your apples. And I was playing this when I was working in a warehouse for a liquor store. And so I had Tetris Effect from work and then Tetris Effect from Wilmot's Warehouse. So I was like going back and forth and constantly thinking about the organization. It was a little stressful, but a very fun, interesting game with a cool mechanic. This game, Wilmot Works It Out, is using all of the same mechanics, but in a much more laid back, relaxed, and fun, almost like a vacation for someone who really likes organizing stuff without like the pressures of capitalism and paying for your job and everything.
I know you don't like these games. I know you sometimes don't. You're not. Is this a cozy game, Jesse?
This weirdly is, but I think I'm digging it because I just like the organization mechanics and I like the look of it and I like how it makes me feel. And the music is very simple and nice and gets you in the mood to organize things. But Wilmot Works It Out is not so much about delivering an order for a customer with a time limit and like, where are all my pieces?
Oh.
This is Wilmot is on vacation. Basically, he signs up for this puzzle club where they mail you a box of puzzle pieces and you have to complete the jigsaw puzzle with no picture. So you just get all these random pieces with different colors and shapes on them, and you have to put them together to finalize the puzzle. But again, you don't know what they are. And the ingenious thing of this is not just like they bring you one complete package worth of pieces for a whole puzzle. They give you some pieces for one puzzle, all of them for another, some for one that you'll need later. And the game is sort of like split up into seasons with different puzzles that are all connected. So you'll get the pieces for one puzzle and it'll be like half of it. And then the next delivery will be more pieces for that one and then a different puzzle to complete. So it's sort of like
neat.
Organizing your space and trying to finish these puzzles, finding what they are. The most fun, just like mind-bending moments are when you think you know what all the pieces go together for, and then you realize as you're putting them together, oh no, that's not even remotely what this is supposed to be. And you start sort of repositioning them and reorganizing them. So it's just a really nice, it's just a pleasant video game. In the same way that Flock was, their previous game from this year, where it's just the sort of thing that I feel like you turn on and play it and the whole world melts away. All of your stresses go away. You're just doing this very simple, straightforward task in a very nice and relaxing environment. I might be cozy game pilled, by the way. I think you're right. I might be in on it.
You might be in. This is Richard Hogg, I guess, collaborated with Hollow Ponds is the other part of this, the team or the developers. Hogg I know from Ho-Ho Come.
Yes.
And I guess I had not played Flock. The only thing I have to say about Flock is there are now 3 games I know called Flock, so we need to shelve the name Flock now. It's been used too much. But but it looks really neat. The puzzles that I see in this video, what it's very reminiscent to me of is when you have a very young child who is like between, 2 and 3 kind of, when you start doing puzzles with them, they can't look at a puzzle picture and do the puzzle from the picture. So all puzzles are basically self-contained. So you're not referencing a bot. You're just getting all the pieces and doing the puzzles. And many times you will get puzzle boxes that are actually 5 different puzzles together. But like there's only 3 pieces in each. You know what I mean? Like, oh, that's obviously an apple and all the green ones are the apples. So you're just using your sort of lizard brain. Like it's for very small kids who have very like limited amounts of, perception and pattern recognition and stuff like that. And a lot of this looks like an adult version of that. It looks like watching the video of the player kind of moving around, grabbing these pieces and like putting them in sections because, those look like the same color tiles, or those look like they have the same style. And then the satisfaction of putting them together. It reminds me of when I'd sit down with my daughter and do those. Cause like even as an adult, it's fun to do that activity. It's not very challenging and it gets boring after a while, but this kind of looks like a more complex version of that same very satisfying puzzle mechanic or something. At least that's what it read like.
It's a very straightforward puzzle building thing, and it does, because it's not jigsaw puzzle pieces literally, like there's no obvious this goes into this piece because there's like a jut sticking out in a hole on this one. Put them together.
Are they all squares?
They're all squares.
Okay.
So you can't tell if you're dealing with the corner of something and just like build out the edges like you would on a regular jigsaw puzzle. You kind of, sometimes you feel like you've reached the end of the puzzle. You're waiting for the notification to be like, you did it. You built peanut butter jar, but then it doesn't pop up and you're like, oh shit, I got to keep going. Where's the rest of the pieces? There's more to this. So it's a really fun, smart observation of what makes those interesting without just making another, iOS jigsaw puzzle game and like trying to do something physically interesting with the space and the controls that they have from a different game. I could play 100 Wilmot games. They could make 100 of these, sell them all for $5. I will buy every single one. I'd love it so much.
$15. Wilmot Works It Out. Wilmot, are you playing on this? Looks like it would work really good on a Steam Deck.
Yeah, played the whole thing on Steam Deck. It's perfect. You can just pause it, have a sip of tea, and get back to it.
Great. Well, there you go, folks. If you need something to distract yourself from an Islamophobic ballet fan, Wilmot Works It Out, available on Steam. It just came out last week, was it? Yeah, this looks really cool. I'm definitely going to give this a whirl, Jesse. This looks rad. Let me quickly get my one out of the way. There's not all that much to talk about with regards to it, but by the time this podcast goes up, the Horizon Zero Dawn Remaster will have gone live. It is out on, I believe, PC and PlayStation 5. It's very good. I think if you own, I forget which one, there's an upgrade path. It might just be PC, I'm not sure. Maybe it is on PlayStation as well. I got a code from Sony, so I can't explain say which way. But there's a $10 upgrade if you want to go from Horizon Zero Dawn to Horizon Zero Dawn Remastered. The big question is whether or not that is sort of justified, because like a lot of games, they'll do the remaster, they'll put it out, and if you already own the original game, then they'll let you do a free upgrade. This is a very well put together remaster. It's not that old a game. We did a documentary on this back in whatever it was, 2019 or something. But I've seen side by sides, and also just from like playing this game, it does look significantly better. From the environment stuff, the lighting, they relit the entire game by hand. They've added in a bunch. You might remember in Horizon Zero Dawn the sort of 2-camera conversations that they did for every conversation you had with somebody, and then in the sequel they did a much better job of like making them dynamic. So they've gone in, done a bunch of extra mocap for a lot of these, so it has that sort of Horizon Forbidden West feeling with the conversations you're having with people. The character designs are way better, way more detail. You've got you got that PlayStation 5 peach fuzz on Aloy that you don't get on a PS4. Hair looks great on everyone. Skin texture looks great. The audio has been given a boost as well. And then just the environments, like they're way more rich, way more, not just in terms of texture, like they've re-arted a lot of this. And with the new lighting, it also looks significantly better. So yeah, I think to me, it feels a lot like what they did with The Last of Us Part 1 I mean, it's not as dramatic as that one, obviously, but it's a similar thing where, now you could play Horizon Zero Dawn and Horizon Forbidden West, and they would feel like they'd come out around the same time. Like this is a very nice cleanup kind of. And as somebody who really loves this game, like I absolutely adored Horizon Zero Dawn. I really liked Forbidden West as well. I think Zero Dawn has a special place in my heart because I was playing it around the time I was going through a particularly rough mental health episode, and it was like my little thing I clung onto. And my wife was actually playing this upstairs earlier as well. She's going through it, and the menu music from the map kicked in, and I was like, it felt like a warm blanket around me. I was like, oh, I remember this game. I loved it so much. So for me, it was a great excuse to go back and play what I think is one of the best games to come out on the PlayStation 4. A real, just terrific piece of work from Guerrilla, and we obviously covered it pretty well in our documentary years ago. And yeah, it's out for those platforms, and is there anything else to mention? I don't know. Do you guys have any questions about it?
I just think Zero Dawn is much better than Forbidden West, personally, storytelling wise. So that's great to see that people are going to be able to play this. You said there's an upgrade path, which is cool. It's probably $5 or something, right?
It's 10, yeah.
10, right? Okay.
You just reminded me. The one thing I wanted to say is if you have PS4 saves, you can migrate them into this.
Okay.
As well. It's right there
so
on the menu.
If you, on console, if you just like buy the original version, you just spend 10, because I feel like $50 is kind of steep for a game that I could buy for like $10 at EB Games.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry.
Can you call up the Sony rep and ask questions, please? No.
I should. Maybe I should have this stuff prepared before we go live. If I look on the PSN store for Horizon Zero Dawn, I wonder, are they not selling that version anymore?
Oh, yeah.
Maybe?
Interesting. I'm looking it up on Steam. It's not, you can't buy Zero Dawn on Steam. You can only buy the remaster soon.
Is that what it says?
Yeah.
I can't find. They have Horizon Zero Dawn Complete Edition here for $40.
Oh yeah,
and then the remaster is $50. So you could do that, but it's redundant. you could make it 2 transactions if you want to, because when you buy Horizon Zero Dawn Remastered, you do also get the PS4 Complete Edition version. I saw that came up when I already owned it, but which also includes Frozen Wilds, isn't that what it's called? The expansion pack.
Yeah, sounds right.
Which is pretty good. And a bunch of other stuff. I wouldn't go to bat against you on Forbidden West on the story stuff. I think it's a very different. I really liked it. I liked the group dynamic thing that they sort of found family and all that. I thought that stuff was really good. I think the core quest is the part that doesn't.
The overarching like sci-fi stuff, because Zero Dawn introduces, I think, my favorite apocalypse, not like post-apocalypse. I don't really care about this, but the apocalypse stuff is genius. The scene where you find out what happened is like, and you hear all those interviews, it's still in my heart to this day. Brilliant. I think about that scene. So hats off to the team there. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's cool that we're getting this. Do I? Kind of. I just wonder, like, at what point there's a point to any of this, right? Because if you make another one, like another Horizon game, and it looks really good, well, like, what do we got to update the first 2 again to match that one?
Remastered.
Yeah.
There's a sort of OCD-ness to these remasters that both appeals to me and also makes me worried in the way you've just described.
Listen, I think people will remember from a couple episodes ago, the Pump the Brakes Party has something to say about this. Maybe there's just too many remakes. We need to slow it down.
If you want to do a write-in on your ballot, I know what party's name you should put down.
Pump the brakes. Yeah, we should. If we get enough people, they'll have to say it on CNN.
That's true.
If we end up and they're like, oh my god, and the Donald Trump won because of these 50 votes that happened for this, the pump the brakes part. I don't know.
It was a perfect tie between Jill Stein and Pump T Brakes, a write-in from hundreds of listeners of a podcast.
Frankenstein also got 3 votes as well.
Yeah, Frank N. Stein.
Frank N. Stein, exactly, yeah. R.L. Stein. Horizon Zero Dawn Remastered. Well, I warn you already that we will probably, I don't know, next week's podcast we're doing something weird, but in the not too distant future we will be talking about a second Horizon Zero Dawn product, as that Lego game is also coming out in a couple of weeks. So, what's it called? Lego Horizon
something?
something?
Adventures?
Horizon.
I want to say.
Yeah. that
Here's
makes
an
sense.
idea. What if they remade the whole first game as Legos instead?
I'd play that.
Yeah. But like a shot-for-shot remake, like
See, this is what we
like the
need.
Psycho movie.
But this is what we need AI for. This is the way. This is the way. Because no one wants to make that. No game artist wants to fucking turn that game into Lego. You know,
Yeah.
no designer wants. Just put the AI on it.
And it will inherently be slop, so there's no love lost.
Yeah. Those
What? No
fucking-
love for the Lego games, Jeremy? What the hell?
No, it's not. The Lego games are
Not a big
fine.
Lego Batman fan.
No, the Lego games are fine.
Beyond
because
Gotham.
they're doing their own thing. But a shot-for-shot remake of Horizon Zero Dawn as Legos, I would not listen. If we need to create jobs for games artists, so be it, and let them work on it. But I feel like it should be voluntary because I feel like anyone who works on that for 2 years, a shot-for-shot remake as Legos will do psychic damage to them.
The thing with that though is you can't do high detail Lego remake of the first Horizon Zero Dawn remaster plus on PS4. You have to do a shitty 2006 YouTube ass video that's like
stop
done with
motion.
like post-it notes. Yeah, it's stop
Okay.
motion.
Yeah.
You can see the fishing wire making
Okay,
it
now
happen.
I'm back in. Now that
See?
sounds
Okay.
awesome.
I'm going to introduce a new idea into this Lego paradigm that we've created. Why? Imagine a Lego remake of Horizon Zero Dawn, but it's not the version you're imagining, where like Aloy's head is like one piece of Lego. No. It's like imagine
Legos, like Jack White?
Yes. Like not even like Jack White. That's great. That's even funnier. I'm talking about she's made of Legos to scale. So like,
oh, man.
her fucking head is made of like, how many pieces of Legos would that be? Like
Hundreds.
7,000? I
Yeah.
don't like. Imagine like you've gone to like Legoland and there's like a Aloy, 6 foot tall Aloy thing made of fucking Legos, not Duplos, not that baby shit, Legos. Now imagine the entire world is made of Legos and they are not glued together like those models. So when she gets hit, it's just like
Like a big chunk explodes off of her.
everything.
Okay,
It's
that sounds
just
awesome.
detritus. And dead people never go away because
Yeah.
it's not like they rot. There's just fucking Lego dinosaurs left. It's just a mess. By the end of the game world is just a mess. And then you have to clean it up.
That
I
sounds
need
great.
I need everyone to know that this is exactly how the pitch meeting went for Lego Horizon Adventures. This exact conversation took place. He's just reading the minutes.
Matthias de Jong was just like, no, needs to be the same scale. And Herman Hulst is just like shaking his head.
Yeah.
It's like, you
Yeah.
fool.
Fools.
No.
That sounds awesome. And the White Stripes will do the whole soundtrack. And it's just Fell in Love with a Girl on a loop. It's just that one song. Oh, my God. Also, one last remark here. I think we should pitch the Playmobil Corporation on doing a competing series of remakes of popular IP, but it's Playmobil instead of Lego. You know what I mean?
Okay.
You guys
What
know
IP
Playmobil?
are we doing? Doom?
Let's see. Let's do like we gotta go a different direction. Let's
Okay.
do like
I like, did you
like-
say Doom? I like that idea.
I like Doom,
Doom
too. Let's do-
Playmobil?
what about like Criterion Collection Playmobil crossover, and we'll do like like Kurosawa's like Seven
okay.
Samurai or something.
going
you know?
deep.
As a video game.
As a video
Mulholland
game.
Drive Playmobil video
Whoa.
game?
We'll class it up though, but it's a weird combination because it's children's toys, but it's movies that children would never be interested.
Oh, I would definitely play the like Playmobil like Enter the Void. Like that would be
Dude, Playmobil Megalopolis would kind of go crazy though.
Playmobil Irreversible, and it's like the most. Oh my God! It's just the most horrible
we're killing
shit.
them.
You thought that
it's
scene was hard to
children's-
watch before.
Imagine if it was toys.
Wow. Oh my God.
We struck gold here, fellas.
See, remember when you guys had that podcast when you were trying to make the ultimate video game movie?
Yeah.
It was sitting there the whole time. Oh Jesus Christ! All right, we need a hard eject. We need to get the Marines in here. Stash. I don't know. I don't know words for
They
the
just come
army.
running in with scalpels. Who do you need me to stab?
Please, Frank Howley, liberate us from all of this talk of Playmobil and tell us about the latest call that you have had to operate Black 6 with duty.
Guys, Call of Duty
Is Snoop Dogg in this game?
Not
my only
yet.
question.
So the game is still in its infancy. Like I feel like Call of Duty honestly hits its peak like by the summer it's out. So this is like the fall. So like 6 months from now, as player base starts dropping out, that's when you'll see all the ridiculous cosmetics. Because by the end of like Modern Warfare 2, that's when you had Nicki Minaj, you had Ghostface, you had Snoop Dogg, all that stuff. Right now, it's just like starting out, but surprisingly, or maybe not surprisingly, the gameplay is perfect. It's really, really good. So this is like led by Treyarch, whose last main one was Cold War, which was the one that I loved back in like 2020. And then also Modern Warfare 2 was really good. The reason I didn't talk about Call of Duty last year was it was Modern Warfare 3, which like even the way that was announced and released was awful. It was supposed to be an expansion to Modern Warfare 2. Originally it was promised like, oh yeah, buy Modern Warfare 2. Next year, we're not putting out a new Call of Duty. It's just an expansion. And then like a few months before launch, it's a whole new game. Fuck it. And so none of my friends got it. I got it and like a few people, but it was like, we were all burned. You paid for a brand new thing and it was nothing. It was just new maps. And it was like, I was exhausted by it. So I took a year off from Call of Duty. And now coming back, it's like, and the main thing, Game Pass. So this is like, and even Jason Schreier posted an article like last week. It was like, this is Microsoft's big hurdle. Is this going to work? But for me, playing Call of Duty, oh my God, it was so easy for me to like download it, try it out, and then tell all my friends who have Game Pass, like, hey, you want to play Call of Duty? Oh, it's free, or $20 a month, whatever. Sure.
So is the campaign multiplayer? Everything's free?
Yes. So so on Xbox, it's the Game Pass thing. The thing that is remarkable, I think they've done this in the past. When you choose to download it, it's like, okay, you want to download multiplayer, campaign, Warzone, because collectively it's 300 gigabytes. That's why I'll play that Call of Duty on my Xbox, because I'm not using it that often. But like, yeah, I'll put half my hard drive for this. So I only selected multiplayer. That's like 60 gigabytes. It's like, oh, yeah, great. And that includes zombies and the multiplayer. The multiplayer launches with like 16 maps, which is like, wow. Because like, there's been years where it's been like 8 maps or so. It's just, I don't know. So
are the maps good?
Yes, I like them. So it's the aesthetic of this game is like 1991. Like the Cold War games have always been like historical Black Ops of the war. The first one was Vietnam War, which is so cool. Cold War was like Berlin, so 80s. I loved Cold War because it was like 80s aesthetic, almost like Vice City, like very like colorful, like Scarface. Like it was like, oh, this is so dumb and awesome. This is like 1991, so there's like a picture of like Bill Clinton in there and like Saddam. You're raiding like mansions with Saddam Hussein's painting. It was like, oh, okay. There's like a 90s video store. It's not like Blockbuster, but it's like, oh, okay. So it's like, it's a little campy in the right way. And so there's no super stupid military crap, because that's the stuff I hated with like Infinite Warfare, Advanced Warfare, Black Ops 3, where there's like, you're doing Titanfall maneuver, which is too much. The big thing this year, the selling point is omnidirectional movement, which you can sprint in any direction and also dive in any direction. So now you can do like Max Payne crap and like dive backward. And so like, it's fast and fun. And they haven't added third person like multiplayer stuff yet, but you can do zombies in third person. And the zombies, the thing lost so many people because zombies started to become this like stupid like escape room stuff where you have to like pick up an item and do this and solve riddles. And it's like, I don't care. Dead. Yeah, it was like it was just like so abstract and dumb. Now it's back to round based. Great, here's zombies. Great, you have a minute to buy upgrades. All right, more zombies. It's like round based crap. There's still that extra like, ooh, can you solve the riddles? But you can ignore it and just do round based elimination and. So
Love
there's
it.
two.
It's round-based crap, not escape room crap.
Yeah, I hate escape room crap. Horde mode, round-based crap is awesome. It's perfect. Because the point with zombies in Call of Duty is you don't want to think. It's left brain, right brain stuff. Right. You're playing the game, shooting the shit with friends, and it's just like perfect. And then my favorite thing is with Call of Duty is the ecosystem. It's like it feels like this is my one time of year where I really touch base with like gamers of everyone. You're like every time you just log on, you see like the dumbest gamer tags. You do see Trump clan tags. You just see nonsense, and it's like, this is insane. I love this stuff. Like you'll have people. My favorite thing, it's crossplay. So if people are playing on PS5, nobody knows that there's a microphone on the PS5.
Yeah.
So you'll hear like
they're still doing that. They're still doing that shit.
Yes, you'll hear music blasting. You'll hear like someone's TV on, and you'll hear just random people having conversations, and it's like, oh, this is so awesome. And it's like, it doesn't feel that like, I don't know. I haven't run into any like hyper toxic lobbies. They have a thing when you sign up when you join, it's like, here's the Call of Duty code of conduct. You will not use, be offensive, blah, blah, blah. We are using AI to listen to your conversations and we'll ban you. That is like there's like a subscript that's like, yeah, now there's AI tech. I love that's BS. I don't know.
Are people like, is there a new proxy word for the N word? Is that, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Are they doing? Yeah.
They just say that. Yo, you wokester? What are you, woke?
Yeah. Like they unalived me, that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I haven't run into any too much of it yet. I'm eager to keep playing and see what happens. The environment, the lobby environments are always unpredictable, but it's pretty fun. It does have like the proximity chat thing where if you kill somebody, you can hear them be like, "Oh, what the?" Like it's like, which I love so much. There's a weird thing you can do now, which is so fucking funny. Is you can sneak up behind someone and click R3, which traditionally is like one-hit melee. Now you can grab them and you can take them as a hostage.
Oh, that's awesome.
Or double tap to kill them. And so like
Right.
that's just like clever and fun. But but scaling back, it is like Black Ops 1, Cold War, like. And Modern Warfare 2, I really liked. I praised it as one of our Game of the Years a few years ago. It was like best gaming with the homies. This version, it's like faster. Like Cold War is faster than Modern Warfare 2, but not so fast that I'm like, I don't know what's going on. It's like my speed. And again, it's so funny to talk about this. I have probably 1,000 cumulative hours playing Call of Duty multiplayer on Xbox just over my decade or whatever. So playing this, it's like Jason Bourne. Like, oh, I'm back. I like my friends and I did and I'm streaming it too. My friends and I did a thing where it was like winning like 200 to like 40 points. Like we were just destroying because we all get in and and here's the thing. When I play, it's like 6 of my friends. So we're all in the lobby just crushing. The term is pub stomping. This is taking me back to like Quake. The term pub stomping is when you group with your friends and you join public lobbies and you're playing against like 6 discordant people who aren't communicating, who are playing on different consoles, who aren't communicating, who don't play the objective, and we just annihilate. And it's so fun. And can I talk about the bonus thing?
Sure.
This year, Call of Duty is partnering with Little Caesars Pizza.
Oh my God. In a month of Sundays, I was never going to fucking.
So there's a promotion right now. You can go to it's like Call of Duty Little Caesars. It's like just type in Call of Duty Little Caesars. You get the splash page where it's like hot and ready. Are you ready to enlist? So they have a promotion where if you go to any and I will go into multiplayer lobbies and I'll talk like I'm a marketing person. Like, is everyone enjoying the game? Hey, did you guys know there's a Little Caesars thing? What? And I'll just like go.
I swear to God, I saw you. If I recall correctly, you tweeted a picture. One of your Go Live tweets was the Little Caesars Call of Duty thing. I swear to God, I thought you photoshopped that.
I thought so too.
I thought that was
from the website.
I was like, oh, this is a Frank bit. Like, there's no way this is real.
That's an asset from the website.
Can I describe what you get in this prize pack real quick?
Yeah,
it's
please,
like there's 3 things. So there's an emblem that you get that's like the logos, whatever. There's a charm you get for your gun that's a heart that says hot and ready on it. And then you get a calling card to like customize your thing. And it's a fucking Little Caesars pizza with a skull made out of pepperonis on it.
Oh my God.
That's what I'm saying.
Post that picture in Snapchat. I'm posting. Jesse, you have to use this as the thumbnail. Everyone, if you could just keep Snapchat for 1 second.
Wow.
Oh my God.
It's a Little Caesars box with sort of a cartoon version of Ghost and I don't know, Tavish and
That looks
Soap
like
or whatever
Fallout
the fuck his name is.
character versions of those characters.
I don't know what their names are anymore.
You were so close. You were so hilariously close.
Soap McTavish. What's his name?
Soap
that's
McTavish. Yeah. Oh my! Look at the operator skin. He's got He's got like a little.
He's got a pizza cutter. He's got a pizza
that's
cutter.
what it is.
And a
That's what
hat
that
that says
is.
hot and ready.
Wait, if you sneak up behind someone, can you slit their throat open with a pizza cutter?
I'm so disappointed. I don't know. Maybe it is. So I got to double check because I will always choose to play as the girl when there's an option. So, but I will have to try it as the guy. So here's the little life hack. Here's the little extra hack. So to activate, to do these activations, the idea is you go to Little Caesars and if you spend more than $3, your receipt.
Fucking excuse me. Can you spend less than $3 at a Little
one
Caesars?
soda.
I don't know if you buy a 2-liter, it might be $2.79. So you have to buy one product, and apparently it gives you like a 9-digit code you upload on the website. So you can upload this 9-digit code to the website, or you can upload a picture of a receipt, and so. My friend found out if you go to fakereceipt.com, you can type in. Can I show you guys? Can I show you guys? I'll show you guys the receipt my friend made. I'll pull it up in a second.
Fake
so
receipts.
you can go to fakereceipt.com. You can type out a receipt.
That's like
Here,
going
I'll
to
post this-
fakeid.com.
Oh no, it's again.
Generic
This
ass
is why I
website.
love Call of Duties. It's you get deep. So I'll post this in the staff channel. Feel free to post it on the thing. So my
Oh
friends
my
made this
God.
fake ass receipt.
No fucking way.
So once a day, you can go to the website and upload a picture of a receipt. So I did it one day. Bam, you unlock 2 hours of double XP. I did it the second day. You unlock 30 minutes of double XP. The third day, congratulations, you just unlocked the Little Caesars operator skin. So I have.
Is it automated?
Oh no! So
Did a human look
It's
at
AI.
this?
no, it's like a little like loot box on the Little Caesars website. Congratulations, you unlocked the hot and ready
Yeah,
operator.
but how do
But
they
how did it
verify?
know it was
Is
a
the Little
receipt?
Caesars man sitting there and like reading
sorry,
these
yeah.
over?
No, it has to be like no one's look. Who's at Little Sorry, if you're working at Little Caesars, you're barely managing the restaurant. No one is looking at this crap. Now, I did have a friend try to use my same receipt and it blocked. So maybe you can't use the same picture
Oh.
twice. But
But it's like automated, right? You like upload
Yes.
the picture and then it like cycles through a
Yeah.
thing and then goes, you unlock the.
Yes, yeah. So I'm
Wow.
assuming it scans to see Little C. I don't know what it's looking for, but apparently that BS receipt
Dude,
works.
we're
and
boiling
so-
the ocean so that you can get a fucking
Yeah.
Little Caesars pizza calling card for
But now
Call of
I
Duty
like
Black
it
Ops
because
6.
then I get to walk around in lobbies and scream in the microphone about Little Caesars, and it's just like
Holy shit.
so that's what you can see me light up like a boy on Christmas. I love Call of Duty. I like when it's good. So again, if you have Game Pass, try it out. If you have friends to play with, yes. Otherwise, it's $70. But I have friends who bought this on PC. I have friends who got this on PS5. I never play the campaign because I don't care. It's history class. It's boring. But
History class.
It's definitely not history class.
What do you mean? You guys don't
Especially
remember
in
when
Black
Senator
Ops.
McKenna got shot? You guys don't remember that? The real Senator McKenna?
Black Ops is like the least history class of
So
all
I
of
have
the Call of
played
Duty.
some of the campaign for this one. I have no serious thoughts on
Yeah.
it. I haven't gotten far enough to talk about the jingoism. The only funny thing is one of the very early missions, you get to see fucking Bill Clinton up on stage and you go to like an event for him and you're taking photographs at it. And I was like, what game am I
Wow.
playing?
okay, that might get me.
Since NBA Jam has Bill Clinton had such a prominent role in a video game.
They need to add him to zombies. You remember in Black Ops Zombies, the original
JFK?
Black Ops? Yes, JFK and
You have
Robert
to wait till
McNamara
they
and everybody.
die. I think
Yeah.
it's like, yeah.
Oh.
It's
That
like
can
they
be
almost
arranged.
Had, they almost
That's a
had
joke.
whoa.
That's a joke.
Cut his mic. Cut his mic.
Fucking hell. Jesse's going to get like Homeland Security. Frank's going to get
Sorry, someone's knocking on my
permabanned
door.
off
I'll be right
Xbox
back.
for doing pizza fucking fraud. And
Pizzagate.
Jeremy's getting hunted down by the ballet Boston man.
yep.
It follows style.
I got a hot tip here for everyone. I'm gonna post this picture in Snapchat as well. The Crazy Puffs for $3.99. 4 handheld pizza puffs, probably the cheapest item you could buy and still get this without using crazyreceipts.com or whatever it was.
No talking shit. Those are delicious.
Okay. All right.
Did you, was this an image that you downloaded directly off their website?
This was on Google Images. Yeah, so maybe they're pushing it because it is the minimum. Yeah, $3.99 hot and ready Crazy Puffs.
Can you confirm that this is an official asset? Because if it is, I'm just going to use that as the thumbnail.
Okay, hang on.
week.
Let me try and dig this back up while we're chilling here.
It's too good, man. Tavish McSoap
It's been a while for me, fellas.
really loves that thing. Okay, those are some video games, folks. Play them if you got them. My notes have disappeared. Here they are. Horizon Zero Dawn Remastered. Wilmot Works It Out. Call of Duty Black Ops 6. Ridiculous names. But here we are. Frank, we got some emails here.
Yeah, please. If you want to write us emails, send us a letter. No, send us an email to podcast@noclip.video or in our Patreon Discord in the podcast chat. We have 2 emails. Our first comes from Ben Weber. I recall a couple weeks back, Jeremy bringing up Ralph Koster in his book on the theory of fun for game design. I know he had just had a GDC talk where he revisited the book, so I don't know his opinions now, but I remember thinking while I read it that he was spending a lot of time talking about how games ought to have something to teach you and how gamers will stop playing when they're no longer being challenged. I'm curious what you guys think of that and what do you think it means if a game isn't teaching you something. Personally, I feel like I hold a space near and dear in my heart for games in which I know I can shut my brain off and disassociate. Do these games inherently hold less value for you?
I would say that it's been a while since I read Theory of Fun for Game Design. I think like even games that feel kind of mindless are still teaching you concepts and systems. Like Vampire Survivors to me is a very sort of mindless fun, like blah, 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 just like listening to noises and fucking the keys are jangling in front of me type game. But you're still like learning about builds. You're still understanding the different tools and how they scale and progress. And still like, I think, learning in games doesn't necessarily have to be like Pentiment, where you're like, oh, Martin Luther wasn't just a civil rights activist in America hundreds of years later. I think, learning can just be about like understanding the systems of the game. It doesn't need to be about like being challenged in some sort of intellectual capacity. But yeah, I mean, there also is, there's stuff outside of that, like where you play Stardew for 1,000 hours and you're no longer like learning how to min-max everything. You're kind of just existing in that world. And I can see the enjoyment of that being dissociated or disconnected from like learning in any capacity as well, and enjoyable.
Yeah, I'd echo what Jeremy says and even say that like I think there are some like kind of fundamental misunderstandings about like developers create games in one way and gamers experience games in a different way. And when it comes to like learning and training players, I think that's what Jeremy said is very true. And then another version of this that I sort of like to recognize every once in a while is difficulty, where people play games and they have the feeling that they have beaten the game because they are good and because they have mastered this world. And sometimes most of the time I would say most players don't realize that the game has been designed for that to happen. It's been designed for you to feel empowered and for you to feel like you're getting better. Not that you're not, but like when people say like, oh, I beat this really hard game, it's like, well, the game has been designed for you to beat it. It's it's a Disneyland ride to a certain extent. Like the goal of the game is to get you to the end of the game and for you to be challenged, but never challenged too much. And this also applies to games that people consider traditionally difficult, like Dark Souls and Elden Rings and whatnot. Like those games, while being tougher than a lot of other games, are still doing the same thing. They are trying to get you there, and they're often doing a lot of things under the hood without telling you to have that come along. So I also think that's sort of part of the experience, is that like you're learning how to play a game by when you're getting good, even if it's not a game that requires you to like read a lot. If you're doing actions in the game, like the most obvious version of this is like when you talk about, go play Half-Life and put on the commentary, you know what I mean? And see, in the episodes and you'll see what they're doing to basically teach you without you realizing that you're being taught all the time.
Good answer. Also, if the only exception to the games trying to get you to beat them is maybe Battletoads for the NES, and that game does not want you to.
You could never beat that game. It's not made to be beat.
No one has ever beaten it.
Do we have another
Frank,
email?
you all right there, buddy?
Yeah, I don't know if we're going to the next email. Sorry.
Do you want me to take this one?
He's thinking about Bill Clinton.
All right, he is.
I hope he's okay.
Hope he's okay. Bill Clinton's okay, or hope Frank's okay.
Do it.
Oh my God! Stop it, Jesse.
Oh my God, he's calling it in.
Howdy, gang. This one comes in from David. Howdy, gang. Back in 1967, American author John Barth published an essay called The Literature of Exhaustion. In it, he describes the used upness of certain forms or exhaustion of certain possibilities when it came to the common literary form of his day, namely the realistic novel. Basically, he thought that all the potential offered by that kind of writing had been used up, and the authors would need to reinvent the wheel, whether stylistically or formally, in order to create something new and meaningful. Barth's essay has since been called a manifesto of postmodernism and paved the way for, or at least seemed to predict, writers like Kurt Vonnegut and Thomas, is it Pynchon? I haven't read.
Pynchon is how I've heard it said.
Or more recently, Jeremy's pal Cormac McCarthy, along with changes in the ways we tell stories. In other words, the non-linear storytelling of Pulp Fiction, or the fourth wall breaks of a Charlie Kaufman movie, and approach to art more generally. The actual question, given the current state of games, where AAA studios are releasing tons of remakes, or if we're lucky, sequels, and even many indie titles are iterations of Metroidvanias, roguelikes, Souls-likes, etc. likes, do you think that games are beginning to suffer from an exhaustion like Barth described? And if so, what kinds of formal mechanics shifts do you think are needed to unexhaust the industry?
So,
Terrific question.
Before anyone answers this, I do have to point out, I don't think we've talked about it yet. The studio that developed Concord, Firewalk Studios, was closed by Sony earlier today.
Oh, was it really?
Yeah, they were shut down along with another studio that they own, a mobile game studio.
Yikes.
Which I think goes to this question of like AAA studios are trying to make a lot of team-based shooter live service games.
There was a marathon dev update. Did you see that during the week? I think it went up a couple days ago.
Put it live, yeah.
Pretty light on details for that thing as well. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Jeremy, what do you make of this one? I've definitely got some thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny that Metroidvania was mentioned by name because that's exactly what I started to think about. It's weird. It's like I think that you can feel the exhaustion of a genre or a certain space in video games and then be surprised when someone reinvents it without totally reinventing the wheel. Like Animal Well is one of my, new favorite Metroidvanias, and it doesn't, in many ways, does not feel radically different from many Metroidvanias I've played in the past. It's just doing things in a very clever way and sort of like subtle, fun, like playful, sort of like breathing new life into the genre by just little more minor tweaks. I don't know. I think there's two sort of ways of pushing things forward. There are giant leaps where someone makes something that's so far afield that it feels like it is just a complete the deviation from everything we're familiar with. And then there are people who just take things and push things forward a little bit in clever ways that we couldn't have predicted. But I think, I don't know. I think the crux of this is what we talk about a lot, which is that the games with bigger budgets and bigger teams and more on the line have to be more risk averse, and so it's hard not to stagnate genre wise when you're trying to make a $200 million gamble on a game being successful. I mean, as always, I see most innovation happening in indie games, and I think that sort of like percolates out into the rest of the industry. But
do you think those indie games are? Because like a lot of the games that we celebrate, a lot of them are doing a lot of referencing older games or doing the Metroidvania thing, which again is now sort of old hat in many ways.
It's tough. Like, Signalis is one of my favorite games of the last 5-10 years, and it's just the Silent Hill game in many ways. And it is doing. Yeah, I guess that's the thing. It's very rare that you play something or even like watch a movie, read a book that feels like it's inventing a new genre or something. It often feels like the best things are standing on the shoulders of giants. But I also think that's. I think the pressure as a creative person to be like, I'm going to make a totally original work is something that is like, it's almost an impossible task. Like I was talking to my dad about Edward Gorey when I visited my family, who is this illustrator. And Edward Gorey is kind of like the missing link sort of between like Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like German expressionism, like filmmaking of the 1920s and kind of like late 19th century like illustration, like Gothic illustration, and Tim Burton. And so it's funny because my girlfriend, who I brought with me on this trip, was a huge fan of Tim Burton's older work when she was growing up, and was also a fan of like Max Ernst and sort of these late 1800s illustrators, but had never seen Edward Gorey.
Oh, interesting.
So it was very fascinating to her to be like, holy shit, all of these things that like we saw a production still of 1977's Dracula production that Edward Gorey did the set design for and costume design, and it's literally just every Johnny Depp character in a Burton movie before Burton ever was making movies. I think oftentimes it's like the creative people that we think are the also to this point, you if you look up Tim Burton interviews about Edward Gorey, he's literally never talked about Edward Gorey, despite the fact that it's like he's straight like ripped stuff from his work. The only reference I could find is that Danny Elfman said that him and Tim Burton connected over a shared obsession with Ed Gorey. I think sometimes the creative people that we think are the most original are often like, this isn't a slight towards those people, but like less original than we think. And everything is just sort of like cumulatively building and building and building. And that at some level, the best you can do is to take a familiar thing and spin it out in a new direction rather than just invent a new genre or whatever.
Yeah, that's fair. I feel like Tarantino as well, that there's, plenty of places where he pulls his references from. And, if it's a mirror of a couple of different things, and, it's tricky because with games there is this technological element which provides a certain amount of like gravity, or like a gravity that you sort of can't escape, where in writing, you have so much freedom in how you approach the form, and in film as well, to a certain extent, especially in the world we live in now, where you can, with much less financial expense, you can dip into VFX and animation and other stuff like that. Games are so, especially at the AAA level, like Jesse was saying about Concord, and you were saying about just in general, like big studios, and that's a relatively recent problem. Like that, Skyrim was made by fewer than 100 people. Like Half-Life, we did that documentary last year was made by this basically the same amount of people that made Hades. You know what I mean? Like it's like we live in a weird time now where these big games come out with 1,000 developers on it, and that wasn't always the case, and they have to be crazy risk averse, but like to a point that's ridiculous. Like games have always been hard to make profitable, but the bets that they're making at that level are just ridiculous. I think it's a great question, because I often feel this way, and I often wonder if this is because I'm 38 years old. I'm approaching 40. I've played a lot of fucking video games, and we were all quite lucky to grow up during arguably the most exciting and innovative, and I do think that is a relatively objective thing. I think stuff in the 80s and 90s was really amazing, but mid to late 90s into the early 2000s, that 10-year period of 15 years was completely insane, just in terms of how much stuff changed, how many games that are sort of now the reference points for so many of the games that are made today. Like it was just a bounty of riches. We really didn't know how good we had it, and there's a yearning for that again, to be like, why can't we get back there? And I look at the other industry that I used to play around in music, and see what happened there, and that terrifies me. And I look at like how just completely this isn't the old man saying new music is bad thing. The music industry's fucked. Like nobody makes money. Touring bands can just about get away with it. A lot of that has to do with the fact that social media has allowed them to be independent in a way and get away from the record industry. Thank fuck Steam exists, and I know it takes a huge cut from people, but it does allow people to self-publish, and that was ultimately, I think, the biggest problem that you had with film, and maybe we're going to see it with music, and maybe we're going to see it with film, is that you had a bunch of really, really massive companies that had so much wealth locked up in old catalogs and were basically disinterested in investing in risk and all that sort of stuff. And that's the fear now we have with the film industry. And I don't think that happens in games, because games can't be sold. The old catalog can't be sold, but it can be remastered. And it can be re-released. So that's why we're starting to see that stuff. So I do worry. I do think there's like an economic element to it, but maybe the technological element that sort of makes it so that games are harder to be outside of a paradigm, because ultimately games are made in a certain code base with certain logic, and there's certain off-the-shelf third-party tools that you use, and there's certain middleware that you use, and you know what I mean? Like you sort of have to play within the sandbox. There's certain control schemes that you have to adhere to. There's certain graphics rendering pipelines that you have to adhere to, all this sort of stuff. But maybe the fact that technology keeps changing is also the thing that stops it from totally stagnating. I'm not sure. I do think over the past decade, though, in the indie space, I have played more genuinely genre-breaking games. Like it feels like over the past couple of weeks on this podcast, we've had a number of games that we've really struggled to put in a box that you guys have brought to the table. And certainly during Next Fest, we had a lot of that going on. So yeah, it's weird. I feel like it's a really great question. I feel like in some ways it really worries me. Certainly the more expensive the game gets, the more it worries me. And the weirder and sort of more individualized, more smaller the team, and more sort of weird that thing is, the less I feel about it.
I think there's also this I think the genre term walking sim, I think, points to a very important distinction here, which is that when you play a game like Mouthwashing, it is hard to categorize, because it is sort of it's funny, it's emotional, it's dramatic, it's silly, it's serious, it's about heavy topics, but it's also very light and weird and playful. And I think that I wouldn't even. It's like a horror game walking sim, but I think what makes it good and makes it a successful piece of media is that it has a clear and original vision and story that it is attempting to tell and succeeding at telling. And I think that that's like the idea that there are like used up genres. I think is like. It is a useful categorization, but I think that the more important thing is like there will be good games as long as there are people with original, interesting visions for games to be made. And so I think that, yeah, it's just about like, I mean, this is why I'm always obsessed with talking about like remakes as kind of a homogenizing force, because I think that when you get people who are trying to make games inspired by things that are not games is oftentimes when you end up with the most interesting games, ironically. So like, you know, like the Zelda franchise being inspired by Miyamoto's upbringing, exploring caves in the countryside, or like what Sam Barlow has done for Her Story and Immortality, being so clearly like visibly influenced by cinema and the history of movies instead of by games. It's like, yeah, I don't know. I think when people bring to bear diverse and interesting cultural influences into games and to tell original stories, it almost doesn't matter what genre they're in. It just matters that they're like experiences worth having or something.
100%. Genre's a vehicle. It's not like we're never going to be like, oh, there's too many heist movies if the heist movies kick ass.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
maybe for a brief period of time we'll say like, why is everything a superhero movie? But like also there's still good superhero movies every once in a while, relatively speaking. Like for the most part, it's all just about what we're doing in the space. You know, you brought up Next Fest, Danny. Like I played so many demos from Next Fest to the point that I feel like my brain still hurts. And that was like a week ago now, or 2 weeks or whatever it's been. See, I can't even tell what time it was. And a lot of those were the same thing. They were Metroidvanias. They were Vampire Survivor likes. The amount of Survivor likes, I think the problem right now isn't so much genre oversaturation, if that's a thing. I think it's just like doing another game. Sorry?
Oh, just oversaturation in general, or
well,
sorry.
There's a ton of games. I don't know if that's necessarily a problem, but I think it's more just like not even genre. It's just doing what someone else already did your way. Like genre forms out of people doing that sort of thing. Like Doom,
right.
Everything was a Doom clone, and then first-person shooter sort of spawned from that. But it feels less like we're trying to fill a gap. I mean, maybe it's not. Maybe I have no necessarily like a deep through line of that. But I just feel like playing those Vampire Survivors games, I wasn't seeing enough evolution on the base idea. I was just seeing Vampire Survivors with my skin on it. Like there was a Temtem Swarm one, which is like in itself is a Pokemon thing. Like,
wait, was it actually Temtem?
Yeah, it was called Temtem Swarm. So it's a
Okay.
Vampire Survivors game in that like style. And I'm like, what are we doing anymore? Like that one where I'm like, I don't know, man. I don't know what we're doing with these genre labels. But also like, I don't think there's anything wrong with any having too many Metroidvanias. Like most of my favorite, not most, but some of my favorite games from this year, Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown, Animal Well, both Metroidvanias. They're just pure, but like that's just the perspective you look at it and like the way that you press buttons and jump around. There's nothing inherently wrong with any of those, having too many of them. It's just don't play the ones that aren't good. Play the ones that are, right? That's about it. The ones that fit your own taste. Can it be hard to tell sometimes? Absolutely. There's probably a bigger conversation to have about platforms not having great curation and there not being enough people to highlight games that are worth checking out. Marketing as well being a big part of it. But like, I don't know. It doesn't matter if there's too many platformers, you know, there's not, if you're playing a lot of bad ones, that sucks. You want to play the good platformers that kick ass and are Mario based.
I guess the argument is that what's the vector for change, maybe? Because like it's a lot of it's technology, and it is in film as well, right? And I guess the argument that he's saying with this literature of exhaustion, in a way, I don't know what the barriers were there. Maybe the biggest barrier to them was education. It was the amount of people who could read and where those people were from and what those people wanted to hear, maybe. But like film has always had technology as part of its, you know, evolution as well. And that, you know, especially within our lifetimes. But I like the idea that like even when you talk about people like Vonnegut and McCarthy and Tarantino, it's not like Tarantino came out and then everyone was doing these dialogue rich, you know, like Tarantino movie. Like it's in a way he's still, you know, and a lot of people were influenced by Kurosawa, but it's not like there was loads of, I mean, there was probably some Kurosawa clone, like Spielberg.
The entire
or, you know,
Western genre is a Kurosawa clone.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But our Spielberg, you know, his But then also when you talk about Spielberg, like what are we talking about? Are we talking about the style of shooting that he does, the deep focus that he utilizes, the types of stories that he does that are very, that are sort of based on serials and stuff, kind of like Lucas. Like, which thing are you saying is the genre hook in that respect? It's only when you boil all of culture do you do the sort of those parts rise to the surface a bit, and it's sort of in the eye of the beholder. And 20 years later, when some new kid is watching all this and playing a new game, and you're there shouting from behind the fence saying, we played that in 1992.
How many times has that happened on this podcast where I have been like, this is a really exciting new thing I've never played before, and Danny's like, well, actually on the Commodore Amiga there was a game called fucking Tanks in Water, and we played it for weeks, me and my brother, back in my day, shit like that, where I'm like, I don't know, I'm sorry. So,
I want to play Tanks in Water. That's
look it up. I bet it's there.
Yeah, but it's a good point. And like, what's the age difference between the two of us? Like, it's less
10
than
years,
10.
something like that.
So totally. Yeah.
It's funny because I was just talking about Edward Gorey, but there was a great Edward Gorey quote that I read yesterday, which is that people were asking him in some interview, were asking him like, are you like a horror illustrator? Like, what do you do? And he was like, I'm paraphrasing here, obviously, but he was like, my goal is that like, if you've made anything worthwhile at all, then people should have a difficult time labeling it. And I think that's a good way of putting it. I think, again, the issue, even if you're not talking about $200 million big budget games, I think the issue with indie games is that indie games is kind of like a lottery. Even though there are so many successful indie game makers, for every, success story, for every Stardew Valley, there are hundreds and thousands of people who are, languishing in obscurity. Whether or not they're making games that deserve millions of dollars is another separate question, but it's it stands to reason that there's a part of the process of coming up with a game idea, what you want to spend years making, and saying, is this an experience that people will be able to grok? Like, will someone look at my game and be like, oh, that's a horror game, I like horror games? And if you make something that is so alien, so there is a point where you are so innovative that no one will play your game because there's nothing to grab onto. They're like, I don't fucking know what that is. And sometimes you can make something like Cruelty Squad that's like has recognizable elements and is simultaneously very alien. But yeah, at the end of the day, it has recognizable elements. It's first person. It has guns. It has objectives. It has levels with enemies that you shoot at and that shoot at you. And so, yeah, I don't know. It's a weird. It's money is like the issue. It's like, I think people would make weirder shit if everyone had like universal basic income.
And to also reference back to the earlier email as well, like there is a certain resistance that is not just coming from the financial place, but also coming from players, where we do want to play something that is a little bit understandable, that we feel like we already get and know. And to Ben's earlier question of like the games that you don't want to play because they're a little bit too hardcore, or you want to play turn your brain off, you only have to turn your brain off if it's a genre you're really familiar with. You can turn your brain off. I can play a first person shooter kind of any form and I can do it and not feel stressed. If I'm playing some weird like game like Cruelty Squad, actually that's a good example of a first person game that does require me to have my brain on because it's so fucking weird. But I think I would have the same trouble playing a super weird, artistic, esoteric first-person shooter as I would playing the world's most basic JRPG. And it's not necessarily the design of the game in some sort of abstract isolation. It's me and the design of the game. So I think like that's perhaps something to do with this exhaustion as well, is that like maybe as players we are so predisposed to going for the comfort food that we're not flexing that muscle that needs to be somewhere between, oh, this is really easy and this is too hard. Like it needs to be kind of in that middle space. And can you blame the industry for that, or is that sort of like a personal responsibility thing? I don't know.
Yeah, and also games are like, I don't know. Like sometimes I want to play a game that's thinky and artistic and weird and cerebral and challenging, and sometimes I want to fucking see the keys jangle because I'm tired from working all day. Like it's a very different feeling than movies are the same thing. Sometimes I want to watch something cerebral and something I want to watch something that's junk foody, but because there's an interactive element, it's like I can put on Stalker or whatever by Tarkovsky, and like you don't need to have a preconceived genre understanding to like get into that movie. You just have to like give it a shot and hang on and not give up on it. You know what I mean? Whereas a game is like I showed my mom Disco Elysium and she played the first few hours, and there were CRPG concepts where she's like, I picked that up. What do I do now? And I'm like, oh, you have to open your inventory. And she's like, oh, I didn't know I had an inventory. And I'm like, oh yeah, because you've never fucking played. Like everyone knows you have an inventory, but she's never played like Diablo. She's never played Baldur's Gate. You know?
Exactly. So what if you had a game that combined both the difficult artistic thing with Playmobil?
Ooh, hold on.
No, he's cooking.
You're cooking. We get Francis Ford Coppola, I guess Frank, to direct
Frankie
it.
Coppola.
Frankie Copy, my good boy. We'll get him in. He'll figure it out. He'll say, what if we crossfade between this picture of a bologna sandwich and Adam Driver's beautiful face? What do we do? How do we make that
coolest
happen?
shot
Going
effect,
back,
baby.
Yeah.
Keep going back.
Press the
Go
A
between
button
the
a
two of
bunch.
them.
Yeah.
You know, like that shot of the eagle and the White House in Too Many Cooks. Just keep going back between the two of them. Keep
You know who
playing-
should work on that game adaptation? David
Frank
Cage.
Alley.
No.
Oh, God.
And Frank Alley.
We need to. I want no. I'm not going there. All right, let's draw a line there. That's episode 199 of the Noclip Podcast. Next week we are going to be doing it again. Episode 100. We ranked 100 games. You sent them in. We ranked them. We're doing it again. The next 100. We're not putting those 100 into the other 100. Oh no, they're in a different division. They're in a different league. They're over there on the national. They're in the National League. We're going for the American League list of games this time. So if you have any suggestions for these, Frank, how did we do this last time? Was it email? Was it Twitter? What was it?
I think we did all are welcome, but like I'll cut it off as soon as we have 100. So I don't even know. I have a chance if I post this on Twitter today, we will fill it by the end of the night.
Okay.
So, but try, yeah. Let's just say, yeah, Twitter thread, no clip video. Reply in there. I'll also share it in the Discord. If by any chance we don't have it, podcast at noclip.video, but go to our Twitter thread, reply to it, fill as many games as you want. And
Hey, how about this? How about only do 5 games each?
Sure.
And we're going to have we'll put it in the show notes, I guess, Jesse, and then Frank will put it in the tweet, a list to the original 100. Just do a quick like Control F on that one and search for anyone you're putting in to make sure that it's not one. Because we're basically, if it was in the previous year's list, we're gonna, or the previous time we did this year's list, we'll scrub it out. So that'll save us the effort and make sure that your 5 games get in and we don't have to scrub 3 of them. So yeah. Send 5 games in, send 1 game in, send whatever you want in, and then be really disappointed when we put it like 75th under Glover. What was the biggest crime from last year's?
Glover? No.
Where's Glover? Where is Glover?
Glover's
Glover
like 97, man.
Rain World, we got some flack for. Although I do have to say that I had not played Rain World when we ranked it so low, and that's why we put it low. And then I did play Rain World since that episode.
Me too.
And
it should be way higher?
No, and I liked it, but I did not think it was as good as people said.
Fair. It's not as good as, what was number 1?
Deus Ex.
Deus Ex.
Invisible War or the original?
Original Invisible War, the original. You stinker.
Exactly. For japes like that, check out next week's podcast. We'll be ranking 100 random games to celebrate our 200th episode of Le Podcast. That's the show for the week. Patron show for this month went up last week. Go check that one out. Also, we're going to have a podcast. It should have gone up already on this feed with Andrew from Alchemy. Talking about Virtual Insanity, my favorite Jamiroquai song. No, we're talking about VR. We're talking about their latest game they're putting out over at Alchemy, the folks who made Job Simulator and games like that. And just generally doing a check-in on the VR industry, which is something I've wanted to do for a while. And I think it's very interesting. I think if you're, it's a weird industry where it's felt like it's always been sort of waiting to explode. But never quite doing it. Like even Half-Life Alyx wasn't the killer app that everyone thought it would be, or at least some people did. I don't think you can make a better thing to sell the Valve Index than that game. I absolutely fucking love it. But it's just an interesting area to talk about because there's some people who are super into it. A lot of people have completely written it off. But folks keep making Sony keeps making hardware for it, and other folks, Meta has obviously invested loads in their Horizon and their headsets. So yeah, it was interesting to talk to him about it, and I think I came away knowing a shed load more about it. So go check out that episode if you can. That'll be the final episode of Dear Dwyery for the year, as we are fucking rammed with editing over here. I don't know how many documentaries we're working on. I think it might be above a dozen at this. It's just ridiculous. So Frank and myself have spent 6 of the past 8 weeks on the road or something like that. I think you 4 or 5 and me 6. And we're still in the midst of recording a bunch of stuff. We're filming tomorrow. We're filming next week locally, but we're not doing any more crazy big traveling. We're just kind of getting down, sitting down and editing all this stuff and getting it out there. Some stuff we've announced and some stuff we haven't. But of course, if you want to get the insider information, patreon.com/noclip, and you'll get access to all of those. All right. That's the podcast this week, folks. Thanks so much for listening. We'll see you for 200. Send in those games and talk to you then. Bye.